These silly playoff teams. Why be a Super Bowl contender when you can have a top 15 pick in the draft instead? Right, guys? A bonus episode of the Colts Perspective coming to you on a wonderful Friday. The NFL playoffs are just one day away, and what else is there to do but talk about them, especially since our Indianapolis Colts will not be participating in the postseason for the third year in a row. But there are still plenty of captivating storylines on the docket this weekend, and they're all coming to a head on Saturday, on Sunday, and for the Eagles and Buccaneers on Monday. Let's talk about them all from the Colts perspective. Without wasting any time, let's kick things off with the first game of the weekend at 4:30 Eastern on Saturday on NBC. The Cleveland Browns will be traveling to Houston to take on the Texans, and hey, we lost to both these teams. The Browns start off this game favored by 2.5 according to ESPN Bet, which I think is a fair assessment. I think this game should be very, very exciting. One talking point I've heard floated around the league a little bit recently is the fact that 2 weeks ago the Cleveland Browns beat the Texans 36-22. It was a 14-point game, but Case Keenum was starting at quarterback, not CJ Stroud, and the idea is that with CJ Stroud back in uniform for the Texans, they will avenge the loss. That's not the worst idea I've ever heard in my entire life, and Energy Stadium is going to be lit this Saturday for the Houston Texans' first playoff game there since 2019 and their first playoff game in general since 2019. Here's the deal. The Texans win their games through the air. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins have been incredible all year, especially when they are paired together. Overall, this offense, even the run game, is really what closes the deal for this Texans team when they're trying to win close games. But the Browns defense is just unbreakable. I think the Texans are going to have much more difficulty scoring the ball and putting points on the board against this Browns defense. And when you pair that with the fact that Joe Flacco has been playing out of his mind in the last few weeks as he comes off the couch to bring another AFC North team to the playoffs with hopes of a Super Bowl, I just think that that pairing makes the Browns destined to make an example out of the weak Houston Texans secondary. I think Joe Flacco with Amari Cooper and David Njoku and just that entire receiving core. And on top of that, Jerome Ford can get through the strong Houston run defense. I think overall this Browns offense is going to be very difficult to stop and very high powered on Saturday, and I just don't think the same is going to be true for CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. Overall, I view this as one of the better games of the weekend, but I expect the Browns to win and cover that spread of 2.5 according to ESPN Bet. They'll win a close one and advance to the divisional round. Next up, exclusively on Peacock, which is just the greatest possible spot to put this game, the Kansas City Chiefs will play host to the Miami Dolphins. I don't like this game at all. I mean, it's going to be very fun. You have a lot of great storylines. You have Tyreek Hill's return to Kansas City. You have, of course, the clash of AFC Titans, with the Chiefs being the dynasty of the last few years, and the Dolphins sort of up and coming with this high-powered offense, hoping to break through and get to the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs, I don't feel, deserve to win a playoff game. I don't think they're nearly good enough of a team to win a playoff game against most AFC opponents. But the Dolphins are not even close to full strength, and if the Dolphins do lose, it's going to be very difficult to say that the Chiefs really earned their spot in the divisional round. Now, with that said, it's going to be cold in Kansas City. Right now, it's looking like 5 degrees at kickoff, but the wind chill might make it feel like -10, even up to -30. Yeah, that cold. So in Arctic-like temperatures, the Chiefs are favored by 4.5. The Dolphins' defense is as banged up as it can possibly be. They're signing edge rushers out of the void to fill the gaps in their roster. Now, especially considering the fact that the pass rush is one of the more weakened areas of this team, I think Mahomes is going to have a much easier time scoring the ball, moving the ball up and down the field. I expect him to have plenty of time to throw and make things happen. He may not need to scramble, but we all know that he can, and he's going to have plenty of time to find his receivers, even if Tyreek Hill is no longer on this team. Now, to play off of that, the Dolphins have not really looked like their 70-point scoring selves in recent weeks, and I expect the offensive struggles in Miami to continue. I don't like it, but I'll take the Chiefs to win this one at home. Sunday's games kick off in Buffalo at 1 p.m. on CBS, where the Buffalo Bills will play host to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which also are going to have some very cold temperatures. I expect a lot of smash mouth football this weekend, especially showcased in this game. The Bills have had a wild ride this season. They had a very slow start to the year, but they have won a multitude of games in a row. And just in that last week, they swung from being nearly out of the playoffs to the 7 seed guaranteed to the 2 seed with a home playoff game in just a matter of hours. They're now favored by 10 according to ESPN Bet. Now, Josh Allen turned over the ball a few too many times last week, adding to his counts of interceptions on the year, which is a number that now reaches 18. The Steelers are now officially going to be missing TJ Watt for this game, which is, of course, going to be a massive loss for the defense of the underdogs. But the defense should have a little bit of help because Josh Allen is very mistake prone, and I expect him to turn over the ball at least once on Saturday. I think defensive scores are really going to be the key of the game for the Steelers because we know that Josh Allen is prone to throwing at least one, maybe two, hopefully not three or four terrible interceptions a game. If the Steelers can take advantage of those opportunities and maybe run a couple back to the house, the Steelers are going to have a much higher chance of winning this game based on the turnover margin. But that's not really something you can predict, so it doesn't look very good for the Steelers heading into this game. The Steelers are on a 3-game win streak heading into this game, but the Bills are one of the hottest in the league. They're winners of 5 in a row since their bye week. This game will not be perfect for the Bills, and it may be a little bit closer than they want it to be, but I expect the Bills to win this game at home in frigid temperatures and actually play host to Kansas City next week to renew that rivalry. One of the more underrated matchups of the weekend is actually the Green Bay Packers at the Dallas Cowboys. The Packers travel to take on their former head coach in Mike McCarthy, while the Cowboys look to not choke away another opportunity at a deep Super Bowl run. The Packers, or at least Aaron Rodgers, seem to kind of own the Cowboys in the playoffs, but the boys are undefeated in Jerry World this season, which is way more impressive than a lot of people seem to think. We know the Packers secondary has had problems all year, and that whole defense really struggles against elite offenses throughout the league, which kind of sounds familiar to us Colts fans. And who is more primed to rip apart this Packers secondary than CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott? We all saw what Lamb did to the Lions just a couple of weeks ago. This game will be closer than maybe it should be, but I'll take the Cowboys to win. They're favored by 6.5. All right, we can't go this far into the video without a major upset. And you guessed it, I'm taking the LA Rams over the Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford is going to march back onto Ford Field and take down his former team. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl with the Rams without the Lions, and now he's going to take away their Super Bowl dream. The Lions are a little bit banged up heading into this game, and the Rams are flat out the hottest team in the NFC. Detroit is favored by 3, but I expect the Rams to win this one outright. The Rams have really just captured a level of offensive firepower that is perfectly primed for playoff football. I think they're going to rise to the occasion, and this game is going to be a real battle. It's probably going to end up being a true shootout, but I'm riding with LA. I mentioned the fact that the Rams are the hottest team in the NFC and probably one of the hottest teams in the entire league, and I think that momentum advantage compared to the Lions is really going to come in clutch for the Rams in the fourth quarter when they need a big play. The last game of the weekend comes on Monday night, and this really is just a perfect Monday Night Football Super Wildcard Weekend's game. The Buccaneers are just happy to be here, while the Eagles are masterfully collapsing from a 10-1 start to the year. The Eagles are favored by 3, but honestly, in Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield has this one in the bag. The Eagles desperately need to recapture their mid-season success, but I just don't see them being able to do it this late in the year on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 weeks in a row in games the Eagles have been legitimately trying to stop the division title from slipping through their fingers and optimize their seeding in the NFC playoffs. When the Eagles have been trying in their last 2 games, they have lost to the Giants and the Cardinals back-to-back. And because of that, I really just can't bring myself to pick the Eagles to win a football game at this point. They're suffering from the losses of their NFC champion coordinators. Of course, the Colts swiped away their offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, to be our head coach, and the Eagles' offense just really hasn't looked the same since. Sorry, Eagles fans. Now, what makes this game so much more fascinating is the fact that the Buccaneers haven't looked very good either. They had a blowout loss to the Saints 2 weeks ago and then followed that up with a 9-0 slog against the Panthers. Neither one of these teams deserved to win this game, but if I had to pick one, I trust Baker Mayfield. So that's it. The wild card round is full of intriguing storylines, and I'm very excited to see how it all goes down. I cannot wait. To recap, we have Browns over Texans, Chiefs over Dolphins, Bills over Steelers, Cowboys over Packers, Rams over Lions, and Buccaneers over Eagles. If that were to be the case, the divisional round would be almost exciting as this first round. The Rams would challenge their division rival, the 49ers. The Cowboys would play host to Baker and the Bucks. The Ravens would welcome home Joe Flacco as he looks to spoil the Ravens' shot at another Super Bowl. This is arguably the best Ravens team of all time. The last time they got to the Super Bowl, it was with Joe Flacco, and now he's trying to stop them from getting back there on the team of a divisional rival. That would be an incredible storyline that I cannot wait to watch if it happens. And I especially want to see that because the Browns winning would mean knocking out the Texans, which I'm a petty Colts fan. It's just how it goes. And lastly, the Chiefs would travel to Buffalo to renew one of the greatest rivalries of the last 5 years, especially in this AFC. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you're watching this far into the video, you're probably a fan of the channel, so you may like to know that tomorrow we have one of the bigger and better Colts episodes of the entire year. The video is going to be a deep dive analyzing and reviewing every single Colts game this entire season, identifying the successes, the failures, the problems, and just what qualities are perfectly fine with this Colts team as we roll into 2024. For now, have fun with the wild card. I look forward to experiencing it all from the Colts perspective.